watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source. Happy to have you with us today. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll start, of course, Tennessee basketball. The Volunteers have one of those wacky weeks where they go on the road, win big, then come home, lose big. We'll discuss that. Well, we've got some coaches here on the show. We're going to ask them if they've ever seen a team that played as poorly at home as this Tennessee team has, especially down the stretch. We'll discuss all that and much, much more. Let's just kick it off right now. First segment of our show brought to you by Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land. Phil and his team have all the tools to help you sell your home like this show. See right there, we're helping him move this show. Look at this historic 1935 log home, 1.9 acres of land in Farragut, Little Turkey Creek running right beside it. Beautiful, 3 bedrooms for just $199,000 for that 1935 vintage log home. Beautiful. Hey, and if you are an ambitious realtor looking to earn 6 figures a year, Phil is now expanding his team. Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land. You're going to see a phone number here on the show today. You can call it and talk to them about moving your home, about buying a home. Also, can ask for Phil and talk to him about possibly joining the Cobble team. Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land. All right. Want to tell you what all is on the show. Let's just get right to it. House of Pain, that's what Thompson Bowling Arena has turned into this year for Tennessee. We'll discuss why. Jim Boeheim got hit a little bit by the NCAA this week. Are there any lessons there in terms of the Donnie Tyndall situation? We'll do our spring previews. We're continuing to do that right up until spring practice begins for the Volunteers. Today we tackle special teams and the offensive line. Tourney hopes. Are there any still remaining for Tennessee? We have a member of the NIT selection committee here. We'll see if Tennessee can win enough games in Nashville to even get back on the NIT bubble. Controversy, it wouldn't be a UT Sunday without some amount of controversy. Claims from the Tennessean that we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, and we'll relive a classic Volunteer basketball win from 1982 with Don DeVoe. All right, speaking of Don DeVoe, here's my cast of characters. Former D1 head coach Houston Fancher and Vol staff member, good to have you. Thank you. Former D1 head coach, 500 games, but together you guys about somewhere around 700 wins.
Yeah, a little heavy on the DeVoe side.
So, I'd say your 180 is probably more than most of our viewers.
Hey, and my daughter's 4-year-old soccer team won 7-1 this year.
So you got
that's
something.
All right. That's something.
So we got Don DeVoe, former Vol head coach and coached at several other schools. Great to have him back. And then Mark Pankratz, of course, played Division I basketball at Milwaukee and was on the staffs here in Knoxville of Bruce Pearl and Conzo Martin. Guys, thank you for being with us. And I salute you. I've said this before, it drives Don nuts. I think basketball is a nutty sport. You look at it, and a team like Tennessee goes on the road. Last Sunday, I asked, has this team quit? So they immediately go down to Baton Rouge and beat a team better than them, more talented team, blow them out on their home court. They come home on senior night against a team they've beaten 15 times in a row, and they get blown out by South Carolina. I can't make any heads or tails of basketball, and I'm surprised any of you have anything other than gray hair from having coached it and played it. This Tennessee team at home, Donnie Tyndall said maybe they're pressing, they're trying too hard. Do you buy that? And if not, what else could it be?
To me, I think anything would be only an excuse. I don't think there's really a reason that you can point to. They just haven't played well at home, haven't shot the ball well at home. And I think a unique thing is if they had just beaten the teams at home that they beat on the road, they're around third place right now. And that's the maddening thing. We said at the beginning of the year it was going to be a crazy, maddening team to follow. You can go back to about our second or third show here that we said it was going to be a tough team to follow. Never in my mind would I thought we'd struggled this much at home as we, hadn't been that successful on the road.
Don, you ever been attached to a team like this?
No, I really haven't, and it is puzzling. It's really bizarre, but when you get right down to it, when you look at Tennessee, they're short in terms of height. They're short in terms of muscle. This is a very small basketball team, but they have a big heart, and that's why they play well on the road because teams, have taken it for granted, and Tennessee's always ready to play. But, when you're short on muscle, you're short on height. You're going to have seasons like this, and I think Tennessee just, when they're at home, people have figured out how to play them. You know, you keep them from driving the ball to the basket because of the deficiencies that they have physically. But I think more than anything else, Tennessee probably has relied too much on three-point shooting, and that has really put a bit behind the barrel.
Mark.
Yeah, what's ironic, when we did kind of go on that winning spree at home, the students were gone, they weren't in class, and so even then, you're kind of isolated in your dormitory because you don't have as much going on during winter break. And so it's mind-boggling to see the differences of this team. But I think Coach hit on the head is this team gets carried away, whether it's because they're at home or not, shooting too many threes. Last night, the worst thing that could have happened to us was we make our first 2 3-pointers and we just start jacking them up and not attacking the paint, which allowed us to beat LSU at their place earlier in the week.
Let me put up some numbers here. I want to show folks it's the cold folks' home, because when Tennessee's at home, they don't shoot well. Overall this year, 15-15. At home, they were 9-7 on the season. On the road, 5-5. Neutral sites, 1-3. But look in the SEC, 7-11 overall, 5-4 on the road, 2-7 at home. Houston, it touches on your point. But their average SEC home field goal percentage, 38.9%. They did not shoot above 37.9% in their last 4 home games. Didn't even average 40% at home in those SEC games, whereas you look on the road, 44%. Usually you think about, we're at home, so we know the shooting backdrops, we know the rims, it's all in your favor. This is a team that was completely the opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a small difference. 38% to 44%. That's a pretty big difference in terms of your average shooting percentage home and road. You would think it might be flipped, but for the home team to average 38 in SEC play, that's hard to believe. Yeah.
See, John, I go back to the fact that Tennessee is a small team, and so consequently they have no inside game to speak of. They don't have a big man that they can post.
No easy
and
baskets.
Obviously, when you get the ball closer to the basket, your opportunities for a great field goal shooting percentages go up. You look at Kentucky and they're giants. And so they put the ball in the big guys' hands all the time with their lob passes and everything. But Tennessee does not have that factor.
But the thing is, that's true, but that's also true on the road. And there has to be something. Mark, you asked earlier in the SEC season if this team shouldn't go to a hotel the night before games the way they do road games. Just take the team, stay in a hotel the night before the games. There has to be something to the fact that a short team that doesn't get easy baskets at home can somehow manufacture more points on the road. I know that everybody out there is struggling for an answer. I don't know that there is one. And I've got 3 pretty good basketball minds. As a matter of fact, I don't know that any sports show in Knoxville's ever had this much basketball talent.
Ultimately,
before.
they're dialed in on the road. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. You're dialed in on the road. You go in and there's everyone against you. The only people that are there for you are the people sitting on your bench and in your locker room. Right. And you seem to be entirely focused. Where you come back home, and you mentioned it, Mark, and we've talked about it before, is the distractions of being at home were overwhelming to this team. And Donnie comes up with a point. They try too hard at home, and that's, potentially that could be it. They want to please the people at home. They go on the road and play well. They want to bring it back to Knoxville. They're just not able to translate it into a home win.
Okay.
I have noticed that when Tennessee is on the road, they do a magnificent job of putting the ball on the floor. If there's one thing that's most difficult in basketball from a defensive standpoint, it's to stop the drive. And when Tennessee is on the road, they are determined to get the ball to the basket. And other teams do not do a good job of stopping the drive against Tennessee. I mean, to me, that's one of the biggest factors when I look at this team and try to analyze what you're trying to talk about.
Yeah. Mark.
Well, and the other thing, too, is obviously the depth, but also a road team coming in here, they don't want tempo to get up as much because they're on the road. They want to control tempo. And Tennessee, when they're on the road, they're more free. They're going to play up and down. They want to create that tempo. And so all of a sudden we get here, and like yesterday, we just start playing on our heels as opposed to, as Coach is saying, at LSU, we have the mindset of we're on the road. We got to set tempo. We got to attack. We got to attack. We got to attack. And I just think that's where this team's better.
Very good. We got to catch a break. I want to make a couple points here before we do. First of all, Donnie Tyndall joked yesterday that he wasn't sure if he'd lost 7 home games in the last 5 years. Close. Last 5 years combined before this year, he had only lost 9 home games. Wow. He's lost 7 this year at Thompson-Boling. Got to give credit to Josh Richardson, all the seniors, but certainly Josh Richardson was a kid. A lot of people didn't want him. He was underrated. He was unwanted. You had fans that say he doesn't belong here. He developed into Tennessee's best player this season, and certainly during last year's NCAA run. Congratulations to that young man, and thanks to all of the Vol seniors. Also, congratulations or kudos are involved. The Tennessee fans I mean,
Absolutely. Great
once
crowd.
again, you look at it yesterday, there were about 325 Division I schools that would kill to have that crowd.
Oh, absolutely.
And for this team to be 15-15, doesn't play well at home. There's not a lot of tournament hope. We don't think. We'll discuss that. For the fans to show up and support that team as they have all year, that is a credit to you. So when we come back, hey, we're going to talk about what happened at Syracuse. The NCAA hit Syracuse, hit Jim Boeheim. Does that tell us anything at all about Donnie Tyndall's situation? Come on back on the Sports Source.
Like our set? Turn to Benedict Construction.